Okay, I'm going to give you a little Excel tutorial on how to use Excel to calculate the volumes of all the slices that make up your cartoon final. So let's just do an example. Let's say this ellipse is, let's say, the head of your cartoon. And the ellipse equation in standard form for an ellipse would be x squared over 25, just using this as a possible example, plus y squared over 8 equals 1. That's an ellipse with an x radius of 5. That's here, this 5. And a y radius of square root of 8, which is 2 point something. And it's centered at the origin. So that's just going to be an example. Now, you need to solve that for y to make it into function form. And we're going to use the positive version of that to be the top of this ellipse. But when I solve it for y, I get this square root here. So you can solve that for y, or you can just trust me. This is the equation. Now here's what Excel's going to do for us. What we need to tell Excel is what are the x's that we want it to plug in. The first slice of this cartoon character's head is going to be between -5 and -4.5. The value that we need to plug in to make it a midpoint is -4.75. Okay, the next slice is going to live between -4.5 and 4, so we need to plug in -4.25 to the function so that we get a midpoint sum and not a left or a right sum, and we're definitely not doing trapezoids. So -4.75, -4.25, all the way up to 4.75 over here. So in Excel, the first thing you want to do is have a column for your x values. -4.75, -4.25, and so on. If you get 2 at least, that'll start the pattern, and you can highlight them both, highlight as many as you have, hover over the bottom right corner until your cursor turns into a little black plus, and then drag as far as you need. And then my last one is 4.75. So the next step in calculating your volume is to find the radius. Now this is actually going to be a program, and it's a simple program in the sense that it's going to, our radii vary based on what x we plug in. But to find that radius, you take x, plug it into this x right here, and the y that corresponds to it is the radius. So the first radius is this distance right here. And the second radius is this distance right here. And so on all the way up. My closest radii to the axis are going to be close to the square root of 8, not quite, but close, which is going to be close to 3, almost 3. And these earlier ones are going to be smaller. It looks like my first one is less than 1, and my next one is somewhere close to 1.5. You can kind of expect what you're going to see before you get it plugged in. So I need to call on those radii that I have listed out here now, and I need to plug them all into a function. Okay, whenever you function, you need to go up here and click into the formula bar and hit an equal sign. The equal sign says I'm programming something here. So what I want to put here is this function, the square root of 8 times 1 minus x squared over 25. Okay, so in Excel, SQRT is the square root function. Parentheses, inside the parentheses is what it's going to take the square root of. So I need to take the square root of 8 times 1 minus x squared over 25. Then I would close my square root. Except this x, I want to find a particular radius, and that's when this x is -4.75. So I'm actually going to click on the 4.75, and it's going to do B4. Now when I hit enter, I get 0.8831, which looks like, just a moment, yes, that 0.8831 is this distance right here, that first little radius. My next one is 1.489. We thought it was going to be close to 1.5. Then they get up to the mid to upper 2s, and right in the middle, that's close to the square root of 8, but not quite. But you can see the thing is symmetrical because all the left-hand radii equal all the right-hand radii. This first one over here is the same as this first one over here. The last one, I should say. And these middle two are close. They're the same. So what we have right now is the radius for each shell. No, I shouldn't say shell, for each slice. Now let's say that my slices are going to be semicircles, because I know a lot of groups are doing that. So what I want to do now is program this cell to give me the volume of a semicircular slice that is 1/2 of a centimeter thick, because the foam board you're using is 1/2 a centimeter thick. So I'm going to set it equal, because I'm programming it. 1/2 pi r squared is the area of a semicircle. Pi r squared is a circle, so 0.5 times pi, I'm just going to do pi as that many decimal points, times, now next would be the r squared. So I'm just going to go over here and click the radius, cure it to square that. Now this, what I have so far would be the area of the semicircle, but I need to multiply it by the thickness of the foam board to create that third dimensional volume. So I'm going to multiply by another 0.5. So this 0.6 is the volume of that first little slice that's at the far right edge of my shape. So this piece right here, now it's coming up out of the board and back in, and it's a semicircle moving towards you, and it's 1/2 of a centimeter thick. Its volume is only 0.6 cubic centimeters. Now, the dragging, just look how, see that one calls on cell C4, and I drag. As I move my way down, this one calls on C5, and this one is C6, this one's C7. That's what the dragging of Excel does for you. Now, this is the volume of all of the slices in my character's head. If I go down here below this column and you hit this sigma up here in the right, that knows that you want to add up something, and it knows probably you want to add up the column that you put it in. So you just click on that sigma and hit enter. And that tells me that the volume of my character's head is 83 cubic centimeters. Okay, so what does that mean? Your assignment needs to be 1,000. There might be a lot of other parts to your character that are going to get you to that 1,000, but probably what that means is I need more than a 5 centimeter X radius. Maybe I need to go out to 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 in order to get the volume that I need. This entire thing is only 10 centimeters across, which is about 4 inches. So that's not a very big character. All right, but the main portion of this was about the programming. Get the radius program, and wherever you would plug in Y, click on that cell, because wherever you plug in X, that's the X value, the specific X value you need on your first slice. Same thing for volume. Wherever it's time to put in radius, click on the appropriate radius cell, and then drag. So what you need to show in your PowerPoint, if this is the object's head, this merge and center button right here, by the way, will group those together and center the typing. And maybe you've got a body, so you would do body here, and you could do arms or whatever parts you have, and then they need to all add up total to 1,000. So I hope that helps. We can talk about them more in class, but this little Excel tutorial hopefully will help you out making your character. All right, I'll see you in class. I'm out.